morning, everyone. I don't even think it's 4 o'clock yet. And what I will be doing today, among other things, is retiring some pens from my desk here because my mind is a little cluttered, because I look up here and I think I need to write something down or draw something, and I've got way too many pens, and by the time I choose which pen I want, I lose whatever thought I had in my little tiny pea brain to actually write down or draw. And also having selected pens from those drawers are full of pens I use or I think I'm going to use in the near future, because they have nibs that I know and love. I have realized when I was going through them that many of them, evidently, I put back in the drawer, and they were either filled with ink or filled with a little bit of ink at the end, and many were clogged. This one was clogged, and I've been lazy about putting them back. Lazy about, I don't know, cleaning them, which is not normally what I do. I use the pens so much that I'm a little careless. Is that the word I want? Lazy? I don't know. It's not really that. It's more, I put it down, I write with it, and I think I'm going to go back to it and write with it more, so don't bother to clean it out. Because when you rinse it out with water, you empty the ink out, you put water in and rinse it out, and then you dilute the ink or waste ink or something, I don't know what. So anyway, a number of the pens that I have, I discovered were clogged. And this was clogged, and others were clogged. So what I do is I fill a glass of water that's that full, enough to cover the nib, but not to go up to the threads. Otherwise, water will seep into the barrel of the pen, and you'll have a messy barrel. So just soak them in water. Your pen is clogged, and usually by the end of the day, it will be unclogged if you use water-soluble ink. So this was another pen that is still clogged. There's a little bit of stuff that the lever does. The other thing is, too, some of these pens might need a new sack, because some of them I have not used in a while, and the sack might have gotten hard in a couple of years. So I shouldn't always think that it's going to work by simply soaking it and then pulling the lever back, and you end up breaking the lever or the pen or whatever by assuming it was just a clogged pen rather than a hard sack. So another thing I've been doing, see, this one just is not wanting to budge. It makes me think it is clogged. Can I take the nib out? Why, that nib is really tight too. Well, the section's coming out. I can find this out. This is one of those pens that the plastic is sometimes quite brittle on these, so I didn't want to. I'm pulling the section out incorrectly, so I shouldn't be doing that. And I can see that there's some diagonal lines, so I should be twisting this at the same time I'm sort of pulling it out. Here, let's just do it right. Can we do it right? There. So the sack is good. It's just clogged. It's just frickin' clogged. So my first plan was to take the nib out, so I'll go back to doing that plan. And so what's happened is the ink channel has been clogged. And why is this nib is really tight too. I wonder if sometimes when I put one kind of ink in a pen when there's other ink from another brand or sometimes even another color, the inks don't like each other and they sort of seize up, could clog something. Well, I'm gonna let it soak a little bit more there, because I don't want to break it any more than I don't want to break it, period. Leave it at full stop. Other pens that I also have here, excuse me, pens that are on my desk in these trays are pens that I am using or just repaired, and if most of them are pens I own and I repair them, and I haven't really got done trying them out. This is a no-name. Is there a name on the nib? I think there is. Aiken Lambert number 2. Is the pen an Aiken Lambert? I don't think so. It's an off-brand pen, or a non-branded pen with an Aiken Lambert nib in it. Now the nib is the best part of this whole thing, and it's so I probably bought this at the last pen show in Philadelphia because of the nib. I could see that the nib was nice. The pen is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, except it's not as interesting as the nib. And I thought, well, I can find a calligrapher for this thing, calligrapher customer for this thing, and maybe I will end up selling it. But when I tested the nib out, I thought, I want to keep this for a little bit. But it's going to go in a drawer in the other part of my house, and then I will never use it again. So what fun is that? I probably have an Aiken Lambert pen I could put that nib into that I might like better than the Aiken Lambert nib that's in it now, in which case I will have the correct nib in the correct pen and keep it or sell it or whatever it, but it's so fine. Look at how fine that is. And flexible on top of it. So this will make any number of people happy. You. But I like it too much. At the moment, I like it too much. Well, I'm not here. It was in this box. These things are all going to go to my drawers full of pens that I will not see or use for the next couple of years. Crazy me. That's not the Pierre Gustafson I know and love. It's the Pierre Gustafson I hate. Having a pen and not using it. Especially when it's this pen. You know, there's nothing about the pen part of it that is even worth mentioning, other than it's fine. It looks pretty to me. If this was a Waterman, it would be $100 pen. because of the plastic that Waterman's used at one point. But it's a brand X pen, and consequently no one wants it. But people will like this nib. And as long as this nib is in this pen and it's working perfectly fine, this pen is perfect. I really like the nib, so I'm going to set it right here, put it right back in the pens I'm using. Now these pens, one of the reasons too that I was, because I'm very confused about what I'm doing with pens, and my pens are in many different locations. Are they in the pens that have names on them? Are they in the pens that have pencils and a box and a set? Are they in this drawer or that drawer? This particular pen could be in 6 different places, even though it's one model. I don't have, I could have a Waterman taper right drawer. Instead, I have a Waterman drawer that has taper rights in it. I have taper rights in, if it had a pencil that matches it, it would be in an area that has sets. If I have a box that it came in, it will be in a box, and where I have the boxes and sets and stuff. So what I need to do, one of the reasons I'm putting these away where most of them are, most of their siblings are, I want to be able to say, okay, I've got 3 pens that are identical to this. I don't need 2 of them. And I can sell 2 of them to you or you. So that's part of the reason of sort of clearing my desk of pens that are sort of duplicates of what I have here. And you know, this pen, I probably have one just like it, Lifetime, whatever color this is, carmine. And when this is in the drawer with the other one that looks like this, I might say, okay, I can sell this one. And then what happens when I actually do say goodbye and do things, then I put them in this kind of a thing. Just show you. These are pens, I think. These are all things that are for sale at one point. I see here's the pen just like the one that's soaking right now. No, it isn't. It has a regular nib in it. Anyway, these are pens that I put in this thing, are pens that are for sale. Look at this thing. Am I selling this thing? Why am I selling this one? Why am I... Do I have to reconsider? I like these pens. Oh, it's horrible being me. I probably have one just like this. Let's just put this over here. I'm my best customer. I just want to let you know right now that if this nib sings to me, it'll go right back in my pocket. It's singing. Can you... What kind of song do you like to sing? This would be a really good pen for drawing. It would be fine for calligraphy, yes. A, B, C, D. It's a little sturdier. The nib is a little tiny bit less flexible than a calligrapher might like. But for a drawer, it might be perfect. Now, why is it in the for sale thing? I like these pens. I like these metal walls. I like all the pens I have, really. You saw that I like this thing. It has a beautiful nib on it. But I have a collection of these. I have a dozen or so, or maybe more. It doesn't have a name on it, which is preferable by many people, but if it had a lovely engraved name on it, I would be more likely to keep it myself. Of course, I can always have a name engraved on it if I wanted to. It's really it's a great pen for drawing. Really, now any wall number 3 nib could be put in here if you have a wall number 3 nib that's very, very fine, or a stub or whatever. You could swap it out. But right now, the nib that it has is really, this would be a really fun pen to draw with. So maybe what I'll do, maybe all I need to do is draw with it a couple of times to say goodbye to it. And the drawings will be all I need. Look at my hands, they're filthy. Whatever. And this might be for sale for you and you and you. Who knows? It's really quite lovely. Especially if you want to sketch with it. It's very springy and I can sort of push it around. I'm sort of applying pressure going backwards, which I should never, ever, ever do. But when I'm drawing and I'm getting into the heat of the moment, I like a pen that I know I can abuse a little bit. And this is a pen that I can do that with. So I'm just going to set that right here. Let's just see what other pens I want to buy from my shop. Okay, this one, it's really nice. And I may want to keep this. It's a Swan. It has little bits of hard rubber up there. But I think it's a made in England Swan, and there's nothing wrong with swans that are made in England. It is made in England, but I just thought, do I really need to expand my collection into pens that are from other countries? This has a really nice nib on this one too. Well, I'm keeping it. Too bad. It's sort of a stub nib, but it's really, 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 really smooth. And this would be great for certain kinds of lettering that I have to do. Why is there so much red ink in this? Because I filled it with red ink, I guess. Hard rubber. See, I'm my best customer again. I don't have my rag here to... Okay, let's see. These are pens I wanted to sell, right? Some of them have price tags, so it is the correct thing. Let's try this one. This is a completely... Here's a Waterman. I just bought a pen like this on eBay from someone. Oh, I remember this one. Is this made in England too? Made in the United States of America. No, I remember this one. This one has little tiny pitting, and I think it was the other time that I had seen this happen. This is done, yeah, very nice, very similar to this thing. Great for writing, very smooth, slightly broadish. Really a great pen. Anyway, the pitting reminds me of when I was up at the cabin during the summer. My brother was spraying off on his skin because the mosquitoes were out and about, and he was spraying it in the vicinity of my stereo. And I looked down the next day, and the entire dust cover had these little pitting marks on it where the off had eaten away at the plastic. So what is it doing to your skin? And this is, you see it only on one part of the pen, the part that was closest to the arm that was being sprayed with off. So it's a minor, just like with the stereo. Okay, well, it doesn't bother the way the stereo works. This doesn't bother the way this thing writes either. And this writes really, really nicely. So one of the things I'm going to do, and I can do it maybe even later today, I might take 10 pens out of the for sale bin and try to come up with ones that I can offer for sale to, because I've had a lot of people asking to buy some of these things, a pen, and some are calligraphers, some are lefties, some are other needs, and maybe I can come up with a nice assortment. And I just want to say, for the most part, what you're buying from me is a nib that's in a functional barrel. If you want this pen with a really nice nib, but you want it bigger, and you want to have gold trim and a clip and that kind of stuff, you can get that from someone else. And that's fine. You know, someone else is in the world. Someone asked me sent me an email asking for a 51. I do have 51s for sale. The 51s I have for sale are probably plain black with a Lustraloy chrome cap. Oh, I want one that's fancier. Okay, well, buy them from person A or person B, and I let them know from whom to purchase them. You know, if I know who generally sells them. My friend Rob Morrison, I'll just call him out. VintageWriting.com is his website, and he sells pens on eBay. Sometimes he has a buy it now pen. Sometimes he lets the market decide what they're worth. And he takes beautiful pictures of the pens. If there's any flaw, which are rare in the pens that he sells, he'll point that out and take pictures of the tiny tooth mark, the little baby tooth mark on the back, or the slight little tiny bit of plating wear. He'll let you know. If it has a name engraved on it, you might also get a biography of the person that owned the pen, because he does the research and finds that this guy was a judge or a governor or someone of note. If that interests you, he finds that out. Now, did this come from this box? Yes, that came from that box. And he might have a pen that's priced X dollars and Y cents, X dollars and Y cents. I might have a similar pen that costs half that much, but the pen that I am selling might have lots of teeth marks on it and lots of plating wear. The pen will work the same, and sometimes maybe even better in terms of the nib might be more flexible, or a stubbier nib or something. There's nothing wrong with the nibs Rob sells, and Rob sells very great nibs. I've purchased many pens from him. I've sold him many, many pens as well. But we both have the same taste in nibs, and we both value those nibs. So the good thing about when you buy a pen from Rob or from Nicola Pang or from me, you know darn well that all of us really care about the nib a lot, and we show you writing samples, and we really want the pen to write, and we want it to be in the hands of someone who does write, not a collector who's going to put this in a drawer like I'm about to do and never look at it again for years. Or even if they look at it every day, they're never going to put ink in it and write with it. So someone just posted on the Fountain Pen Network, when you store pens, do you take the sacks out of them? And everyone is responding, yes, 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 yes. And yes, if I never used a pen, I would never put a sack in any of them, because the sack is only going to get hard and have to be replaced later. And sometimes a sack, the sulfur that's in the sack, the rubber, sometimes discolors the pen. So why do that? If you had a car collection, you'd probably take the gas out. You wouldn't take the oil out, or you'd want to make sure the pen or the car would go if you put gas in and turned the key, without having to fill it up with oil. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? I don't know anything about car collecting. But for me, I love writing with these things, and having to put a sack in to write with it, I would find that annoying. Now, for those of you that know me, if I'm doing work at my desk, I might not even fill the pen. I'll just dip it and do my work and never fill it. Because if I fill it, then I have to empty it. And then if I forget to empty it, I'm running into the problem that I started talking about. Feeds that are clogged with ink that dried up after being neglected for a long time. So anyway, getting back to the pens that I have for sale. For the most part, the pens that I sell are to be sold to the people out there in the audience that use the pen for drawing or for calligraphy or for writing. The way the pen looks is less valuable to my customer, to my ideal customer. They don't really care what the pen looks like as much as how it writes. So, this pen has a little tiny bit of maybe plating wear around the end there. That happens just a little tiny bit where the external, maybe it's just dirty. Who knows? But what a great nib this is. I like this nib. I heart this. So I'm gonna take this out and do some drawings with it and maybe get it out of my system. But often when I actually write with it or draw with it for any length of time, I'm more inclined to keep it than to sell it. But we'll see. I'll see if I can put together 10 pens that have varied nibs. I have someone wanting a really fine nib with a little tiny bit of flexibility. I have someone wanting a flexible nib. I've got one guy that I'm going to send him, someone I know personally, so I can do this. I can send him maybe 5 pens for him to try out for a week or two, and he'll pay me for the ones he wants to keep and send the other ones back. I don't do that for just anyone. I do that for people that I know, people I've seen face to face. I have done it for people that I have never met before too. I did it with a guy named Alex Hillcrest, who I follow on Instagram. He's an artist. I can tell by the art he makes and the generosity he is about how he shows what he does. And I had a sense that he was not going to run off with my pens and never pay me. So I sent him 5 pens and he bought all 5. So good for him, good for me. And I can do that with you guys too. I mean, if you want me to send you 5 pens without paying me, I'd be happy to do that. But I have to get to know you first. So show me the drawings you do. Talk to me on Skype. Tell me what you think. If you voted for Donald Trump, you're not going to get this package because I can't trust you. I'll just say that right now. I would not be able to trust you. Because if you believe what he's doing, you're deluding yourself. So you're not going to get you can give me money. I'm happy to sell you a pen, and I will sell you the beautiful pen that you want, but I'm not going to send you 5 pens without getting any money for them. But if you're an artist and you show me the art that you do, and if I have by talking to you, I have a sense of what you're like, I might be able to do that. So there you go. But chances are, even in this day and age, I'd probably ask you to send me a check for the full amount. But I'd make sure I'd offer you the money back if you didn't want the pens. What I try to do when I'm sending pens to people, because I get to know you, and I ask people to send me pictures of them writing or show me how they hold the pen. You know, if someone holds a pen like this, you're not going to get a pen. I don't even want to sell you a pen. And some people do beautiful work holding a pen like that, but and if you're one of those people that holds your pen like this and draws with it, try to learn to hold your pen differently, because that's not the way to hold a pen. That's how you hold a steak when you're pounding it in to the ground to kill Dracula. You hold a steak like that, but you do not hold a pen like that. I mean, if I held a pen like this, I would have to put my head on the desk to see what I was even writing, because I can't see until I turn my neck way to the side. If I hold a pen like this. Anyway, sometimes when people show me how they hold a pen, I'm able to know, okay, they're going to find this pen scratchy. They just will, so I'm not going to give them that choice. I'm going to make sure that the pen that I'm sending this person is the one that I think they'll understand and they'll use correctly, and it won't be abused. It'll work well. They may think, oh my God, this pen is too fine. And often this is what I'll do. I'll send a pen that has a really, really fine nib, one that's, I'll try to find 5 pens that are different from each other, and I'll send them to them. And, they'll try one pen out, and they might say, gee, I hate this pen, and I'll put it aside. Maybe one will be perfect, and they'll write with that a lot. And I'll say, no, I want you to try all of them. And don't just put them down. I want you to go back to the one that you didn't like, and I want you to try that one again. Especially after they, write with this a while, then they go back to this one. They may hate it even more, but chances are, I think, that they'll learn, they'll say, oh my God, this is actually, I used to think it was thin, too thin, but I now see, having tried this pen out, that the flexibility that I got with this, I can get a little tiny bit of flexibility with this one. And that's kind of cool. Then they go to this one that was too noisy or too broad or too whatever, and they'll think, oh, this is kind of neat too. So oftentimes even though they want this one, they tell me they want a pen that will do that, or they want a pen that will do that. When I send them 5 or 4 or 3, sometimes they say, I want them all. And that was my cunning plan all along. I'm like the guy giving away marijuana at the playground, because they'll be back. They'll grow up and want to get the good stuff. They want that crack, that heroin. Yep, I know you'd be back, little Billy, little Charlene. I knew you would be back. This is my cunning plan all along. So, anyway. So, stay tuned. I'm going to try to come up with some pens that are for sale, and I'll give you directions on how to get in touch with me to buy them. It'll be sort of first come, first serve, so I'll include my email, and I'll know when the emails come in. I've done this a couple of times before, and with some success. I think most people were happy. There was one pen that I sent out without testing it adequately, and there was a little bit of a gap between the nib and the feed, so the pen skipped a lot, and that was unfortunate. But the guy was very, very happy with the other pen he got, and I refunded his money and stuff, so it was fine for the pen he didn't want. But he very much likes the pen that he kept. And the other pen I was able to fix correctly and sent it off to a different person who was very happy with it. So, anyway, I wish I could meet you all face to face and sell you a pen over the counter, but it's hard to do that when you have to be 6 feet away, and it's also hard to do that when you live in another country. For those of you that do live in other countries, I did have someone from Italy who had said he or she, I don't even know the gender of this particular person, wanted to, I think it's a he, wanted to buy a pen, and but the duty and the taxes and stuff that customs that you have to pay for pens that come into the country from the United States cause the pen to be a lot more expensive. So in some cases, what I've done is I live in a building that has a number of people that travel, and they're friends of mine, and I'll say, would you be willing to bring this box of pens and put it in the mail when you're in Italy? And that way we get around the customs thing. And I do actually, another time, a guy from Czechoslovakia, an artist from Czechoslovakia, he was an architect, I think, and he knew a number of architects in his office or his school that also wanted pens. And I said, well, if I send you 10 pens, the cost of the shipping and the cost of the customs would be spread out more evenly between you, and it won't be so expensive. And I did that, and he was my broker for the pens. Turns out I think he kept them all, because they all were, even though I sent 3 or 4 different kinds of nibs. Some were firm and fine, some were flexible, and some were fine and flexible. Some were like this, sort of more broad and flexible for sketching. And I think he ended up liking them all, buying them all from me. So that was a happy ending for both of us. So maybe if you live in another country, or I've got 2 people from Italy, I think right now, that do want pens from me. So maybe I can send 1 package, and then they can deal with who gets what pen. They may live very far apart from each other, I don't know. But even if it's just, can you drop this in the mail in Rome to send to Florence? Maybe that'll be worth it for them. "42 minutes of you listening to me, and it's not even 5 o'clock in the morning." Bye.